Hello everyone, welcome to Education on Cloud. I'm Hemalata. Today we are going to discuss a subject Business Studies for class 11th, right? And in today's class we are going to discuss about important notes, and it's going to be a quick revision class, right? So subject is about Business Studies and it's about part 1. Your part 1 is about foundations of business. Fine? And in this we are going to start with chapter number 1, that is business, trade and commerce, right? So let's discuss the important notes as a quick revision. So the first concept here is that banking in India dates back to Vedic age. So this is the first concept that we are going to discuss. The Vedas and Manusmriti consist of the term usury, meaning practice of making unethical monetary loan that unfairly riches the lender. Fine. So here you can understand the Vedas and Manusmriti consist of what? The term usury, meaning practice of making what? Unethical monetary loan that unfairly reaches the lender. Fine. Now, banking in India, that is the continuation. So the second point here is that the mention of loan deeds as a Ranapatra or Mapanna or Melakaya in Kautilya's Arthashastra indicates the existence of unorganized banking system in India during the age. So we know that during a very past period we will be having, or we were having, this kind of unorganized banking system. Okay, so that's what, it's an example that we have taken during the period of Kautilya's Arthashastra, right? Now, Adesha used during Mauryan period is the forefather of present day bill of exchange. So whatever the term that we call it as Adesha, okay, it is a banking term, and which is used during Mauryan period is the forefather of present day bill of exchange. Fine. And next, loan deeds were referred to as Dastavez-e Indulat Lab. Okay, it means what? Payable on demand, and Dastavez-e Mayadi. So this is payable after expiry of stipulated time during Mughal period. So this is a different terms. They used to use the modern terms in the ancient period during different periods, right? And the first bank established under British rule was Union Bank of Calcutta in the year 1829. So this is a basic information that we have to understand, that the first bank which is established under British rule was Union Bank of Calcutta in the year 1829. Fine. Then the first foreign bank that opened branch in India was Grindelwald's Bank in the year 1864. So here the first foreign bank is which one? And it is opened a branch in India was Grindelwald's Bank in the year 1864. Then the first fully Indian bank was Howth Commercial Bank in the year 1881. So this is the what we call it as first fully Indian bank, okay, which is called as Howth Commercial Bank in the year 1881. Then the period of 1906 to 1911 saw establishment of banks influenced by Swadeshi movement, which led to evolution of Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, Canara Bank and Central Bank of India. Fine. Then the Reserve Bank of India, which we call it as established in the year 1935 as nationalized in the year 1949, took reins of banking structure in India in the year 1949 with the passing of Banking Regulation Act. So you should understand that they also have passed the Banking Regulation Act, okay, as this has taken reins of banking structure in India in the year 1949. Fine. Then the traditional transportation system of India. So now we are going to discuss about the traditional transportation system of India. It was mainly human or animal powered and included palanquins and carriages or carts pulled by ox, bullock and elephant, camel, horse, etc. So we used to use all these animals in order to make a transportation from one place to other, and with the advent of trade, roads were developed and gave way to development of automobiles, cars, two-wheelers, buses, rickshaws. And during the ancient period, we used to make use of the animals, the other things, okay, as a basic in order to make a transport from one place to other place, right? And after the day passes, we had come across the term called trade, and because of this trade activity, there were started slowly establishing the roads, construction of roads were developed, and this gave a way to develop the automobiles, cars, two-wheelers, buses, as well as rickshaws. Fine. Then the Indian Railways dated back to the year 1853, when the first passenger train ran between Bombay and Thane, a distance of 34 kilometers. Fine. Then today Indian Railways is the fourth largest network in the world. So we also understand that India Railways is in the fourth largest network in the world. So this is a very important that we have to understand. Then with metro and monorail operational, India is making rapid progress in transportation. So you can also understand that with metro and monorail operational, India is making a rapid progress in the transportation. Fine. Then major trade centers of India. Under this, Gujarat, it's going to deal with cotton, patola cloth and furniture. And in terms of Bengal, they used to deal with cotton, silk, jute and muslin. Then Golconda, they used to specially deal with only related to textile. Fine. Then Shalit, they also used to deal with textile. Then Pulikat, they also used to deal with textile, cutting and polishing of stones. Then we have got Sindh, again they used to deal with furniture. Then Deccan, so they used to involve with furniture and diamond. Fine. Then Calicut, it's about cutting and polishing of stones. Fine. Then Vijayanagar, so again they used to deal with cutting and polishing of stones. Then Kannauj, so again they are into rice and sugar. Then Punjab, they are into wheat. And Dar, it's going to be related to betel leaves. Fine. So trade ports and exchange points. So let us discuss about this. So we have got various trade ports and exchange points. So we have a place like Delhi, Musalipatnam and Batkal, Cochin, Quillan. Then we have Calicut, Kambat. Then we also have Mangalore, Lambodar. Then we have got Dabhol. Fine. These are the places where we can consider as a port or points. Fine, for the transportation. Then we also have major trade communities. So these are the list that we have here. This is what we call it as major trade communities. So let's discuss about this. The first one is that we have got Multanis and Punjabis in the North India. Then we have got Bats in Gujarat. Then we also have Khorasanis in the foreigners providing professional services, whom we call it as Khoranis. Okay. Then major imports are nothing but like we have got horses, that is Kabul, then dry fruits and precious stones from Arabia, then glassware, that is from Europe, satin, that is of West Asia, then porcelain, that is China. Fine. Then major exports are nothing but silk. We export as a major products like silk, gold embroidered cloth caps, then clay pots, sugar, indigo are the products that we involve in making an export. Fine. Then sandalwood, spices, diamond, coconuts. So all these are the products that we are exporting. Fine. Then types of human activities that we have to understand here is that under types of human activities we have got economic activities and non-economic activities. right? And under types of economic activities, again we have to understand about business, profession and employment, which are very important under economic activities. Fine. Then concept of business, here we have to understand that business in an economic activity which is concerned with the production and sale of goods and services on a regular basis, which is needed by the society with the aim of earning profit. So here business is considered as an economic activity which is concerned with what? The production and sale of goods and services on a regular basis needed by the society with the aim of earning profit. Then definitions of business. Under this you can understand business may be defined as an activity in which different persons exchange something of value, whether goods or services, for mutual gain or profit. So here we can understand this is defined as what? Activity in which different persons exchange something of value which has got some value, whether it might be a goods or services, for mutual gain or profit. By this has been given by Peterson and Plowman. Fine. Then business is an institution which is organized and operated to provide goods and services to society under the incentive of private gain, and this is according to Wheeler. Fine. So here you can understand business is considered as an institution which is organized and operated in order to provide goods and services to the society under the incentive of private gain. Fine. Then business may be defined as human activity directed towards producing or acquiring wealth through buying and selling of goods. And again this is being given by L.H. Haney. Fine. So according to him, he defines business activity as what? A human activity which is directed towards producing or acquiring wealth through buying and selling goods. Fine. Then characteristics of business, here we have economic activity, and this business is considered as an economic activity as it is undertaken with the objective or aim of earning money and livelihood and not for psychological satisfaction. So here as an economic activity, what do we have to understand is that it's about a business is considered as an what? Economic activity as it is undertaken with the objective, it has some objective or aim of earning money and livelihood and not for psychological satisfaction. Fine. Then production of goods and services, here you can see every business enterprise either produces goods or services. Goods may consist of consumer or industrial goods and services may include transportation, banking, insurance, etc. Fine. Then here profit earning, under this you can understand the main purpose of business is earning profit. If the profit motive is missing in a transaction, then it cannot be considered as a business transaction. Here you can understand the main purpose of business is what? Earning profit. That is the reason that why people are going to involve or they are going to start with a business, because they want to earn money and they are also ready to take up a risk, right? If the profit motive is missing in a transaction, then it cannot be considered as a business transaction. Fine. Then uncertainty of risk. Under this, another important feature of business is the presence of a risk factor in a transaction. There is always a possibility of loss. So here you can understand uncertainty of risk is also considered as one of the important feature of business, as it is presence of risk factor in the transaction. There is always a possibility of loss. Fine. Then business as an economic activity. Under this, profit motive. Right, firstly. So under this, the main motive of every business activity is to earn money in the form of profit, and any activity which result in earning of money and creation of wealth is considered as an economic activity. So here you can find Profit motive is what? It's about the main motive of every business activity, right? This motive is to earn money in the form of profit, and any activity which result in earning of money and creation of wealth can be considered as what? An economic activity. Fine. Next is about creation of utility. So, business activity results in creation of utilities, as businessmen create three types of utilities. What are the three types of utilities that is created? Like form utility, time utility and place utility are some of the example that will be coming under creation of utility. Fine. Then we also have exchange of goods and services. So here economic activity aims at earning by exchange of goods and services. Similarly, business activities result in sale, distribution or exchange of goods and services for earning profit. So here you can understand economic activity aims at what? Earning by exchange of goods and services. Similarly, business activity result in sale, distribution or exchange of goods and services for earning profit. Fine. Then objectives of business, here the first one is about economic objectives. So under economic objectives we can understand about earning profits, survival and growth is important, then creation of new customers, then innovation, optimum utilization of resources, market standing. So all these are what we call it as economic objectives. Then social objectives are nothing but the quality of goods, fair trade practices, generation of employment, welfare of employees are some of the social objectives that the organization has to take. Then we also have human or individual objectives. Under this you can understand providing a good working condition is the first basic objective, and payment of competitive and satisfactory wages and salaries is the other objective. Then providing special benefits, the special benefits such as housing facility, medical facility, free education of children, etc. can be considered as a special benefits which are provided to the employees or the individuals, or whom we call it as human. So this is what the objectives of a human or a individual. Fine. Then role of profit in business. Under this you can understand it's a source of income, then we also have source of finance, then efficient working of business, then goodwill, then we have reward for risk bearing. Fine. These are what we call it as role of profit in business. Fine. Then types of business activities. Under this you can understand classification of industry. So here we have got different classification of industry. One is primary industry, next we have got secondary industry, then we also have territory or service industries. Then it's about functions of commerce. The first one is here we have it eliminates hindrances of persons. So that is why that is one of the function here, because it talks about eliminating hindrances. Hindrances are nothing but the complications or the problems that we face in a business activity. So it is helping for that. Then it also eliminates the hindrances of place. Then it also eliminates the hindrances of time which is involved. Then they also focus on reduction of risk, that is eliminates hindrances of risk. Then it also eliminates the hindrances of finance, then eliminates hindrances of information. So all these are what we call it as functions of commerce. Fine. Then classification of commerce. Under this, commerce can be classified into two broad categories. One is firstly we have got trade, and again under trade, international trade or domestic trade we have, external trade we have, foreign trade we have, then wholesale trade or what we call it as retail trade. So external trade and foreign trade both are same because it's out of the border. Internal trade and domestic trade are the same. Then wholesale trade we have, retail trade we have. Under auxiliaries to trade we have transport and communication, banking and finance, insurance, warehousing, advertising. Auxiliaries to trade is nothing but the facilities which is required to conduct a trading activity in the economy. So we need transportation and communication to do trade. We need banking and financing to do trade. We also require insurance. We also need warehousing, advertising. So that's the reason we call these things as what? Auxiliary to trade. Fine. Then business risk. What is the meaning of business risk? Here we can understand it refers to uncertainties or unexpected events which are beyond control. In other words, business risk means what? A chance of incurring losses or lost profit than expected. Fine. So here the loss, there is a chance that we are going to lose the money or the profit that is been expected in a business, and that is what we call it as a business risk. So that is the reason it is considered as uncertainties or unexpected events which are beyond the control. In other words, business risk means what? A chance of incurring losses or lost profit than expected. Fine. Then nature of business risk. Under this you can understand business risk arise due to uncertainties. So the business risk arises because of uncertainties, and risk is an essential part of every business. Then degree of risk depends mainly upon the nature and size of business. Fine. Then profit is the reward for risk taking. Then we have causes of business risk. Why do we face business risk? Is that it's because of natural causes, okay, maybe the earthquake or flood, okay, which is not created, rather it occurs naturally. That's the reason we call it as natural causes. Then we also have some of the human causes which is created either intentionally or unintentionally. We also have economic causes or the other causes also we have. Fine. Then methods of dealing with risk. Under this, avoiding high risk transaction is the first thing. Then we also have insurance policies, provisions, risk sharing, preventive measures. So all these are what we call it as methods of dealing with risk. Fine. Then types of business risk. Under this you can understand we have got two types of important, that is three types of important risk. One is insurable risk, then non-insurable risk, and we also have economic causes. Fine. Then these include uncertainties relating to demand for goods, competition, price, collection of dues from customers, change of technology or method of production, etc. Financial problems like rise in interest rate for borrowings, heavy or higher taxes, etc. also come under these types of causes as they result in higher unexpected cost of operation of businesses. So this is again, it talks about uncertainty, demand of goods and services, competitions, about changing technology, about changing customers, so interest rates, so that will cause a financial problem. Like this, everything has been covered under here, and this is what we call it as types of business risk. Fine. Then other causes may be, these are unforeseen events such as political disturbances, mechanical failures such as bursting of boilers, fluctuations in exchange rates, etc., which lead to the possibility of business risk. So here this is what we call it as unforeseen events. The unforeseen events are considered as political disturbances or mechanical failures such as bursting of boilers, fluctuations in exchange rates, etc., which lead to the possibility of business risk. Fine. Then important terms to remember here is that we have economic activities. Under economic activities, these are those activities which are undertaken by people with the object of earning income or livelihood or to satisfy material needs. It might be an example like a worker working in a factory can be an example. A taxi driver driving a taxi is also an example. And under non-economic activities are those activities which are undertaken to satisfy social, psychological and emotional needs. The purpose of these activities is not to earn money or to satisfy material needs. Example, persons engaged in religious work or mother looking after her children, etc. So all this can be an example of it. So here we have to focus on like non-economic activities and economic activities. Right here it's going to be considered as economic activities, and from here it's going to be considered as non-economic activities. Fine. Then business. It is a human economic activity which is concerned with the purchase or production and sale of goods, supply of services with a view to earn profit by satisfying the needs of the customer. See, whenever we are wanted to do a business, we have to make sure that we are trying to satisfy the requirements or the needs of customers. Only then we will be in a position to make a profit, and that is what here we are focusing on. So it is a human economic activity, and this is concerned with the purchase or production and sale of goods, supply of services with a view to earn profits by satisfying the needs of consumers. Then we have profession. It refers to an economic activity which requires some specialized skill or knowledge, which is governed by certain code of conduct and is done with service motive. Maybe an example you can take like doctors, lawyers, teachers. So all they can be an example of profession. Fine. Then employment. Employment is what we can consider this as an occupation where an individual agrees to work for a person or an organization in return of wages or salaries. Example, we can consider about managers, clerks, factory workers, etc. So employment is what we can consider this as an occupation where an individual agrees to work for a person or an organization in return of wages or salaries. Example, managers, clerks, factory workers, etc. Then it's about industry. So it includes all those activities that are concerned with the conversion of raw materials into useful products, maybe the production, right, using mechanical appliances and technical skills. For an example, it's going to be a cement industry, textile industry, etc. The term industry is also used to mean that group of firms producing similar or related products. We call such a group as what? Industry. Industry is, we are not talking about one single organization. It's a group of producing activities which is taken together. Fine. Then primary industries includes all those activities which are concerned with the extraction and production of natural resources, reproduction and development of living organisms or plants, etc., or what we call it as primary industries. Then we also have secondary industries. Secondary industries are concerned with using the materials which have already been extracted at the primary stage to produce goods for final consumption. Right, here you can understand secondary industries and primary industries, you can find a difference. Under primary industries, we call it as extraction or production of natural resources is what we call it as primary industry. Secondary industries are concerned with what? Using certain raw material or material which have already been extracted at the primary stage, and with the help of that we are trying to produce some goods, and that process is what we call it as secondary industries. And whatever the product that we produce, it is for the purpose of final consumption of the consumers. Fine. Then construction industries. So again, these are involved in the construction of buildings, dams, roads, tunnels, etc. And that's the reason we call it as what? Construction industry. So it is related, purely related to construction, wherein horticulture or like architecture and engineering skills are also required in it. Then we also have tertiary industries, and these industries are concerned with providing support services to primary and secondary industries, as well as activities assisting trade. Example like transportation, communication, etc. are some of the example of tertiary industry. Fine. Then we also have commerce here. So it embraces all those activities which are necessary for maintaining a free flow of goods and services from the point of production to the point of ultimate consumption, thus providing a necessary link between producers and consumers. It also includes both trade and auxiliaries to trade. Right? Commerce is what? It is an embrace all embraces all those activities that are necessary for maintaining a free flow of goods and services from the point of production to the point of ultimate consumption, thus providing a necessary link between producers and consumers. It includes both trade and auxiliary to trade. Next is about trade. It involves the buying and selling or transfer or exchange of goods and services. Fine. Then internal trade, it means what? Trade within the boundaries of a nation. It can be of two types. One is, it might be a wholesale or it might be a retail trade. Then we also have external trade, which means trade across the boundaries of nation. It is of three types. The three types, either it might be import trade, export trade, and we also have entry-port trade. So these are the examples, or which is considered as an external trade. Here internal trade and external trade, you have got a difference. Internal trade, it takes place as, is also called as domestic trade, because of the reason that the transaction will take place within the boundaries of the nation. And we also have two types of internal trade. One is wholesale trade, the other one is retail trade. And when you have to understand about external trade, again it's going to cross the boundaries of the nation, and it is of three types. Either it might be import, export, or entry-port trade. Then auxiliaries to trade also includes all those activities which are meant for assisting trade. Fine, like warehousing facility. Fine. So all those can be an example, or transportation facilities which is required, financing facility, banking facilities are all what we call it as an example of auxiliaries to trade. Fine. Next is we have extractive industry. So extractive industry is an industry which includes all those activities which are extract or drawn out various products from natural resources. Some examples of these industries are hunting, farming, etc. So this can be an example of extractive industry, where you try to extract natural resources. That is the reason we call it as extractive industries. Then we also have genetic industry. These industries remain engaged in breeding plants and animals for their use in further reproduction. Right? Here it includes what? That is, the industries remain engaged in breeding plants and animals for their use in further reproduction is what we call it as genetic industry. And next is about manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry, here these industries are engaged in producing goods through processing of raw materials and thus creating farm utilities is what we call it as manufacturing industries, because they include in the process of processing of goods, right? That is converting raw materials into finished goods. Then we have analytical industry. These industries analyze and separate different elements from the same material. For example, it might be oil refinery, etc. So this is an example of analytical industry. Then we also have synthetical industry. So these industries combine various ingredients into a new product, as in case of cement industry. So here you can understand that this industry combines various ingredients into a new product, as in case of cement industry. Fine. Next is processing industry. So processing industries are those industries which involve successive stages for manufacturing finished products. Maybe an example, we can take it as sugar industries can be an example here. So it is an industry which involve successive stages, okay, and those kind of industries is what we call it as processing industry. Fine. Next is we have got assembling industry. Assembling industries are the industries which focus on assembling different component parts to make a new product. Maybe an example of television, car, where we have various inputs in one single product. Okay, either it might be even a two-wheeler, car, vehicles, all those things. Fine. Then transporting and communication. The auxiliaries to trade which remove hindrance of place is what we call it as transporting and communication. Then we also have banking and finance. This involves banking and financing services which remove hindrances of finance for businesses. So all these are the facilities which is required by a business people. Then we also have insurance. So it is also a device which gives protection against the risk of uncertainty events or removes hindrances of risk. Fine. Then warehousing. So it means what? Storing of goods till the time they are demanded in the market, and warehousing removes hindrances of time. So it's about what? Storing. Warehousing is nothing but storing of goods for the future requirement. Okay, and you should make sure that the good quality is maintained and good production is provided for the goods. Next is advertising. It is the tool of promoting the goods and services to maximize sales and to create demand. It also focuses on removing the hindrances of information which is there. Fine. Then business risk. Business risk may be defined as what? Possibility of loss or inadequate profits due to some unforeseeable, unpredictable and unfavorable events. So here you can find business risk is what? It may be defined as possibility of loss or inadequate profits which is due to some unforeseeable, unpredictable and unfavorable events. Next is speculative risk. Under this, it involves both the possibility of gain as well as possibility of loss. It arises due to change in market conditions, fluctuation in price, etc. Fine. Then pure risk. It involves only the possibility of loss or no loss. Fire, theft, strikes are the examples of pure risk. So this can be an example of pure risk. We say this is a possibility of loss, that is the reason we call it as pure risk, or no loss, that is either it might be occurring from fire, theft, strikes. So these are the example that we can consider it as a pure risk. Then we also have natural causes of risk. These are beyond the control of businessman, maybe an example of flood, earthquake, hailstorm, etc. Floods, all this can be an example of natural calamities or causes of risk which is created by nature and it is not created by the human beings. Fine. Then human causes are caused due to undesired human behavior and attitude of human resources. Maybe for an example, we have dishonesty, carelessness of employees, management inefficiency, etc. can be an examples of human cause. So it is totally created by, the harmness is created by human beings or because of human behavior. And next is we have economic causes. These are related to changes in the business environment and have direct impact on the earnings of the business. Maybe an example in the tax policy, change in demand, customer taste and preferences, etc. are the examples of economic causes. So it is always related to business environment and they have a direct impact on the earnings of the business. Maybe an example like, as I told you, it might be related to tax policy, change in demand, customer taste and preferences are some of the example. Next is market condition. Here, state of economic activities like demand and supply in the market can be considered as the market condition, where you are going to focus on demand and supply. Then you have got insurable risk. Insurable risk are the risk which can be recovered or insurable risk, right? The losses which can be made good or losses for which company can get compensation from insurance company are what we call it as insurable risk. So this is what you have to understand about insurable risk. Fine. Then non-insurable risk is the next concept that we have to understand. The risk for which no protection is available is what we call it as non-insurable risk. Generally, the economic risk and human risk are what we call it as non-insurable risk. So here it cannot be insured, so there is no protection, and that's the reason no protection is available. That is why we call it as non-insurable risk. And generally the economic risk and human risk are what we call it as non-insurable risk. So by this we are going to conclude today's session. Thank you all.